Okay, Joe, go ahead.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the UMRA Travel Discussion Group meeting. Today, we only have one topic. Dave Cluck's going to talk about his circle tour of Lake Superior. So he's going to take us around the lake, including Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Ontario. Previously, he had done a circle tour of Lake Huron, and he has three more Great Lakes that he can cover in the future. So without further ado, Dave, you want to do your tour?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for checking in today. My wife and I, we retired. We started planning our travel, and one of the things I've always wanted to do was to circle tour all five of the Great Lakes. We did Michigan in 2014. We did Huron in 16. In 2018, we did Lake Superior, and that's what I'm going to share with you this afternoon. Um, I'll share with you the itinerary. It's a Word document at the end after we go through the photos. But this was a 27-day tour, um, which I planned out for 27 days with all the stops that we had. And the just so you know that on the Michigan side of all the lakes that we did, we stayed in the Michigan State Parks in a cabin, a two-person or four-person cabin. Um, and so all we took along with us for that was the two sleeping bags or two army wool blankets and two pillows. And then there was the other side of the lakes, the non-Michigan side. We stayed in beds and breakfasts, lighthouses, or historic hotels, or sometimes just a local private hotel, or every once in a while a chain, one of the regular chain hotels, depending on where we were. So this is. I'll start you here with the to show you our route. This is the Sault Ste. Marie to Ironwood. This is the Michigan side of the lake. Uh, this is the Oh no, rats. There we go. Okay. Then this was. Let me go back. I'm sorry. This is Ironwood. This is the Wisconsin side. This goes up here, right there in the middle at the point there at the peninsula. That's the oh national. Oh, rats. Forget them.
Also, Islands, Dave.
Yes, the Apostle Islands. Thank you much. Yes.
I'm a Badger. I know those things.
Okay, yeah, the Apostle Islands. And there's the Minnesota side from Superior, Wisconsin up to Grand Portage, which is where the international boundary is. And from there, we went out to Isle Royale for 3 days and 2 nights. Then back to Grand Portage, and then went around through Ontario. From there up through Thunder Bay, across Wawa, back down to Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and then back home. So we started in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. This is the entrance going over the Edison Canal. Stopped at the Chippewa County Historical Museum. Very, very nice. That's the local cathedral. The River of History Museum. I have 540 photos, so we're gonna go through kind of quickly. Overnight at the Brimley State Park. That's what the cabins look like. They're a camper cabin is what they're called. They come with the fire pit, the picnic table. Sometimes they got a lounge chair out front, and then we are always the cabins are always right across from the modern restroom facilities. Lake Superior. That was all on day one. Day two, we were up to Whitefish Bay, took the scenic byway to the Hiawatha National Forest. Bay Mills Indian community. Very historic. This is the St. Kateri Takaquitha church there in Bay Mills. And 6 years ago, I'm sorry, during COVID, during 2020, an arsonist burned this church down, and they've got it rebuilt. I'm not sure if it looks the same as it does now, but it was destroyed 2 years after we had gone through. Monument to the Ojibwe. That's the historical museum there in Bay Mills. The old Indian burial ground, 1841. These are actual native. They're all buried above ground. Bodies are all in. Those are above ground coffins from the Ojibwe. They're not up like you might have saw in Dancing Wolves, Dancing with the Wolves, movie, elevated up on the platforms. The Ojibwe buried all their relatives in the above ground coffins. That's Mission Hill Cemetery. This is the memory of the sailors of the steamer Myron that went down off Whitefish Bay. The Point Iroquois Lighthouse. Open to the public. That's another one out in the channel off Whitefish Bay, and just to the left of that, about a mile, is where the Edmund Fitzgerald went down. Lake Superior Circle Tour. You see these signs around. They're on the Lake Michigan, the Lake Superior, and the Lake Huron sides of the lakes, but there are no circle tour signs at all for Lake Erie and Lake Ontario in any of those states, just in Michigan. The light station there. Shipwreck Museum, a lot of things from the Edmund Fitzgerald, or the bell from the Edmund Fitzgerald is there. Our next overnight was at the Quamanon Falls State Park. That's the Lower Falls. Had a real nice dinner there at the Fresh Coast Cafe. That's between the Upper and Lower Falls. We were in the Rivermouth Campground, where the river comes out into Lake Superior. That was our cabin overlooking the river. So a lot of canoers going by. This cabin slept 6. The interior. Those are our sandwiches from that Coast Cafe. Still on the M123 Scenic Byway. This is the Crisp Point Lighthouse. This one really take some doing to get to. We were lucky that the County Road Commission had graded the road. Otherwise, would have been all ruts for 4-wheel drive vehicles only. Our Saturns or Equinox wouldn't have made it. But it's a lonely place. The view, Lake Superior from the top of the lighthouse. Muskellong State Park. This was just a drive-through. We're in Grand Marais now. on the lake. This is the Pickle Barrel House Museum. It was closed the day we were there, but very interesting. You're up that way. The history of that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are there parts of Lake Superior in Michigan where there's no road along the lake? You know,
Um,
it used to be true,
Yeah.
but I don't know how long ago that was.
well, yeah. I mean, there is no one continuous road along the lake shore where you can see the lake the entire time.
Okay.
This is the Lightkeeper's House Museum, the Grand Marais. Coast Guard, the Coast Guard has a station there. It's the Ranger Station. And then we're into the Pictured Rocks. We stopped at the Grand Sable Visitor Center on our way. This is on the east entrance. And this is the Osable Point Lighthouse there in the Pictured Rocks, National Lakeshore. The view. We were overnight at the Munising, at the Sunset Motel, right there on the bay. Very nice. Stopped over. Wagner Falls is just around the corner from downtown Munising. These are the front range, the front range and the rear range lights in Munising and at Grand Island. That's the rear range light. Range lights means the ships come. This is not this is back off the lakeshore. When the ships are coming by, they know what the signal to look for, what the signals are, because every one for all the lighthouses are different, and they line up the front range and the rear range lights, and that beam that once that they have that the beams lined up, that's how they know that's where to pull in to the port to miss running into the shoals. We took the minor castle out of Munising for the sunset cruise, Pictured Rock sunset cruise. This is the old Grand Island lighthouse. As you're pulling out of the bay, Pictured Rocks. And the sunset. That's a front range light. They would line up with the one that I showed you earlier, the rear range. Grand Island is part of the Hiawatha National Forest. It's not part of the National Park Service. But we took a boat over there. You can explore that. Really interesting. It's a really nice tour, Grand Island. That's on the island itself. Once you take the ferry over. Cleveland Cliffs, the Cleveland Cliffs Mining Company bought the island or had original possession of the island. And it was set up as a summer retreat for all the executives of the Cleveland Cliffs. This is a cemetery. It's there on the island. That's George Powell, World War II. This was the main lodge where all the guests would stay. That's a look at it from the lakeside. Then we were off to Big Bay, off to Marquette. We went through the Christmas, the town of Christmas, went through Autrain, um, to Marquette, up through Marquette to the Big Bay Point Lighthouse for our overnight. It's a bed and breakfast. There's the view up the peninsula. This is the hotel in Big Bay. This is where the movie, oh, come on, I forget the name of it. Um, Jimmy Stewart. Oh, the trial.
Anatomy of a Murder.
Anatomy of a Murder. Thank you very much. Yes, was filmed. Had dinner there at the Thunder Bay Inn, which is where the movie was done. Very nice steaks. All right. After our time in Big Bay, we back down to Marquette. That's the northern ore dock up near Presque Isle Park. That's the pier light. That's the Northern Michigan University Superdome. The indoor football field, football stadium. This is the Southern Ore Dock. They're in Marquette, which is in use. Currently, you can see them, see a freighter lining up to be loaded. All the ore that comes in here comes out of mines out of the peninsula, further over near Negaunee and Ishpeming. This is the Marquette Maritime Museum is in the lighthouse. I'll walk over to that. Here's the view of Marquette, the ore dock, downtown, the power plant. Again, another breakwater light. There's the gangway out to the out to the lake shore. Very nice. The Marquette Regional History Center was just opened a year prior to us going there in 2018. Very, very nice. There's a lot to do and see in Marquette. St. Peter's Cathedral. Marquette is the archdiocese of Upper Peninsula for the Catholic Church, and that's the Archbishop is there at that cathedral in Marquette. City Hall. I take pictures of a lot of the historic buildings just because of the architecture. Oh, that's the county courthouse. Marquette County Courthouse. Back on the road, you can see we're going up US 41 now. We stopped at the museum. So we circled. After we left Marquette, we went through Negaunee, and Ishpeming. We stopped here at Ishpeming, the Cleveland Cliffs Shaft Mine Museum. This little place was in Michigamme, the historical museum there. Henry Ford is Ghost of the Northern Empire. Henry Ford had a glider plant, was up that area. He built gliders there for World War II. There's me with Jimmy Stewart. They have a lot of the memorabilia from the Anatomy of a Murder film here in Michigamme. Overnight at Van Ripper State Park. That was our cabin in that location. Nice, another nice place. Jersey's Burger Bar. Excellent hamburgers. Craig Lake State Park. So we after Michigamme, we were this was a pass through again, the state park, just to see what it was like. Stopped here. This is in Alberta. This is this is where Henry Ford had a plant where he built the gliders. It's now property of Michigan Tech University. The engineering school runs it. They hold conferences here, and engineering students during the summer will run the mill. Coming into Lance, village by the bay, had lunch at the Hilltop Restaurant. They have the best cinnamon buns in the country. And so this is up at Zeba. Ford had a plant up here as well. Henry Ford had a plant up here as well. This is where he harvested the lumber up in this part of the peninsula, and then milled it here, and then sent it down to Alberta for the glider factory. It is a ghost town. I'm sorry, that was Paquaming. This is Zeba, the Indian United Methodist Church in Zeba, still in existence. Baraga, named after Bishop Baraga. The shrine. Oversees the lake, the bay there. Our overnight at Baraga State Park. Another cabin. Stopped at the Ojibwe Recreation Area on our way further north up the Keweenaw Peninsula. This is the lighthouse that they had moved. This was moved to the Sandpoint Lighthouse. Well, actually, it wasn't moved. Everything grew up around it. That's in its original location, and it's open to the public. Historical Society there, the Baraga County Historical Society. They were having a yard sale while we were there. Had dinner here at the drive-in in Baraga, right next to the state park. Oh, going up the Keweenaw now on US 41, the Copper Harbor. Stopped here at the Honka Finish Home Museum. Very interesting. So all of this is still an active farm. Stopped at Chassel, home of the Strawberry Festival. St. Anne's Catholic Church in Chassel. Again, historic churches are on our to-do center, the Heritage Center. So now we're headed towards Houghton. That is the lighthouse to the Portage River cuts through the middle of the Keweenaw Peninsula and goes through between Houghton and Hancock. This is the eastern end of that river, that channel, the Portage Lake channel. That's the light to the Pierhead Light there. Houghton, Michigan, the home of professional hockey, the birthplace of professional hockey. That is the original professional hockey stadium, D Stadium. (1902). You can see Portage Lakes. James D., Doc Gibson were the originators of ice hockey, professional ice hockey. That's the inside of the rink. Well, this is the Portage River, called Portage Lake. This is the channel. That's the lift bridge. Houghton on the left, Hancock on the right. Downtown Houghton. Dinner. This is at Michigan Tech University. The Seaman Mineral Museum is absolutely fabulous. If you have an opportunity and you're up that area, be sure to stop in and see that. We spent an hour and a half in there. And we went over and did a little walking tour of the city of Hancock. That's the county courthouse. These are all historic buildings down Main Street. We're headed to the Quincy Mine. Historic, that's the original fire station. It's now the city hall. That is a Jewish temple. Looking back across, that's where we stayed. That's Hancock there. We're looking back over on the Houghton side. Got a photo of the Ramada where we stayed in at Hancock. Another shot of the lift bridge. The Quincy Mine. National Underground Tours and Gifts, Keweenaw National Historical Park. That is the inside of the elevator. We took after we toured the museum up top, we got into the Cog Railroad, and this goes down the hill there, straight ahead, and goes down the hill at about a 45-degree angle, and then you get out and do a walking tour of the mine underneath, what was underneath that shaft earlier. So that's the mine car that took us in. Our tour guide. Then we were off to Laurium, home of George Gipp. You may have heard of Ronald Reagan, played in a movie about Newt Rockne, and his speech that he gave at halftime with the football team was getting clobbered. It was all about it's doing for the Gipper. That was George Gipp, who was a coach at the university, played rather at the University of Notre Dame. This is the Laurium Manor. It is a bed and breakfast. We didn't stay there. We did tour there though. Very excellent. Headed to Lake Linden now, up the peninsula, coming into town. courthouse. It's the museum. This is the result of the big flood they had there in 2017 that washed out. It washed out the museum. They were lucky. They got everything off the ground floor up into the upper floors and saved the historical museum. But it washed out all the roads. This is the Dreamland. We had lunch there, the Dreamland Hotel and Bar, on our way to Jacobsville, to the Jacobsville Lighthouse, where we, sorry about the blurry. It's the pier light. This is the Jacobsville Lighthouse. It is also a bed and breakfast. We were overnight there. There's my wife, Tessie. Up to the lighthouse. There's some kayakers out here in the lake. All right, went through the town of Gay, the Schoolhouse Museum. It was closed at the time we were passing through. This is the Mendota Lighthouse at the town of Bete-Gris, a French name. And into Copper Harbor. One of the three gateways to Isle Royale. Copper Harbor, or out of Houghton, Hancock, Houghton area, or out of Grand Portage, Minnesota. Local museum. Historic State Park at Fort Wilkins. We were overnight there in a cabin again. This is the church, Lady of the Pines Church. Every Sunday, the regular mass there, a traveling priest does the mass there in the 11 o'clock in the morning. Historic Fort Wilkins. That's the Copper Harbor Lighthouse. We were not able to get to that because the contract service that does the boat trip from Copper Harbor out to that, it's on an island right there in the harbor, but you can only get to it by boat. Their contract had not been renewed, so there's no way to get there unless you had your own personal watercraft. And down to Eagle Harbor next. That is the Eagle Harbor Lighthouse. Holy Trinity, Holy Redeemer Church. This is the founder of Justice H. Rathbone, the founder of the Order of the Knights of Pythias. That's the memorial. They had a big festival going on, so we got hot dogs. That is it's the lighthouse as well, the lighthouse, and that's the old Coast Guard Museum. The freighter going by, headed down the lake towards Superior, Wisconsin. Our cabin. Miami, Florida, 1,990 miles from Copper Harbor. Considered the end of the earth. Rockaway Mountain, a really nice view of the Upper Peninsula of Copper Harbor from the top of Rockaway Mountain. On our way to the town of Phoenix. This is the Central Mine. Used to be here. That's a ghost town now. And this is the visitor center. They have a lot of historic buildings there. from the 1800s. So this is oh, where are we here? This is another, it's another lighthouse. It's a privately owned lighthouse. This is at Amik. Privately owned now. That is the courthouse and the sheriff's office. That is the jail. Sand Hills Lighthouse Bed and Breakfast. We drove by there, just drove in, got a picture. That's a place we'd like to get back to and stay overnight at that bed and breakfast lighthouse as well. Now we're in Calumet. Calumet is the Keweenaw National Historic Park. That's the visitor center. It used to be was originally the Masonic Temple. Banquet. That's a Mason's Banquet, the 1800s. Coppertown, USA, the Mining Museum. Italian Hall tragedy. That's a long story to that. But somebody yelled. This is when this is like somebody yelling fire in a theater. Someone did that, and the folks couldn't all get down the stairs from the second floor dance party they were having, and they lost a lot of lives. This is the Christmas Eve 1913. Those are all the people who perished in the fire of the Italian Hall. Michigan's oldest concrete pavement is there in Calumet. The Firehouse History Museum. McLean State Park, we were overnight there, again in the cabin. Pier Light. Quincy Smelting Works is all part of the historical park there. It is all closed. It's not accessible for anybody. Copper Range Historical Museum. That was in the town of South Range. We were overnight next at Twin Lakes State Park, again in the cabin. This is fire danger was low at that time of the year. This was August of 2018. So headed south now to Ontonagon. Downtown Ontonagon, really nice place. The Historical Museum, toured that. Stubbs Bar, really nice. It's very famous, very historic. With the dancing bear and the jukebox. And then we have the Ontonagon Lighthouse, toured that. Sills Cafe, excellent for breakfast. It's voted the number one restaurant in Ontonagon County. Again, the Ontonagon Lighthouse across the bay. Entering the Porcupine Mountain State Park. We stayed in the yurt. This was the climb up the tower at the Lake of the Clouds. That was the yurt we stayed in. This is where your firewood was in here. You put your trash in here also. Really comfortable. Waterfalls, swift river currents. This is the one of the two rivers that come out of the Porcupine Mountains. Headed west towards Ironwood. Ogeebic County Courthouse. All the story. Copper Peak. It's the International Ski Flying Hill. So took the elevator up, got it to the top of the elevator, then walked up more stairs out to the end, the very end, where the skiers start. And you're looking at Lake Superior. It was all clouded over. We were in the clouds. And that's a look down the ski slope, the ski jump actually to the bottom. Original McDonald's. This is really nice place. This is the historic the federal building with a lot of memorabilia from World War II and all the veterans there from Ironwood. The Hiawatha statue. And 52-foot tall fiberglass statue, Native American Hiawatha, built in Minnesota, installed here in 1964. Murals of the miners, the railroad station. This was all carved out of the tree. The historic Ironwood Theater, original organ. Pines Cafe, very nice. Reuben sandwich. Now we're into Wisconsin. Okay, this is day 14 of our trip. A lot of murals. And this is Ashland. Ashland is the city of murals in Wisconsin. There are 25 of them. Very nice historical museum. Train station. Courthouse. We're headed up towards towards Bayfield, passing through Washburn. That's their historical museum. Fossil Islands National Lakeshore. This is the Visitor Center and Museum. There's the Apostle Islands. We took a tour of those. This is the Rittenhouse Inn Bed and Breakfast. We were overnight there. View from the porch of the bay. Dining room. Took the Apostle Island cruise on the Superior Princess. Then light stations on the islands. We got back off, we had dinner here at Grunky's Inn. Again, excellent. We need to speed up some. Red Cliff, Native American, a band of Chippewa, their reservation. Welcome to Cornucopia, Wisconsin's northernmost village. The building, so fire danger is low here, but a burning permit is required, according to Smokey. Still on the circle tour. That was the Wisconsin Point Breakwater Light in Superior. That's the Coast Guard station. That's the ore dock. Old Firehouse and Police Museum. Again, very nice. The Veterans Historical Center. Forgot what that historic house is. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, the whalebacks. The SS Meteor Historic Site. That's what a whaleback looks like. Looks like a big rubber raft with a crow's nest on it. Again, the dock. These are grain silos here. That's across the bay. Pitker's old brewing, we stayed here. It's the old brewery was turned into a hotel, so we were overnight there. This is in Duluth now. That's the harbor. There are the carriers, the ore carriers coming in. This is down on the ground level marketplace. They have excellent pizza. The Great Lakes Aquarium, another super museum if you're ever up that way. There's my wingspan, pretty close to the Eagle. Not so Tessie. So all downtown Duluth. There's a lot to see and do there. Again, the pier lights. There's boats coming into the bay. That is the county courthouse. That's the old high school. Historic hotel. This is all Duluth. This is the Glen Sheen estate there that we were in. Very nice. There are all the call buttons and all for the kitchen, for the staff. That is the historical museum, the train station. And we took a train ride while we were there. Maritime Visitor Center out by the bay. Lighthouse and the Coast Guard station in Duluth. Now we're in Two Harbors. Headed up the coast. Fire danger up here, closer to the Minnesota, closer to the Canadian border. It was high. Lake County, twoharbors.com. The giant chair. Split Rock Lighthouse. Really nice. This thing is 100 feet off the lake shore. This is houseboat. Grand Portage National Monument Heritage Center. This is really nice. This is all Native American. We stayed at the Grand Portage Lodge and Casino the night before we headed out to Isle Royale. Salisbury steak was excellent. There's our Voyager 2. That's the southern end of Isle Royale National Park. Wendigo is the harbor. You can get there by a float plane coming out of Copper Harbor, out of Houghton rather. The planes come out of Houghton. Well, there are the lodges where we stayed on the island. That was we were right here below on the first floor. That was our room. We were here for 2 nights, looking out into the national park. This was at the dining center, and so we came out our first night. We came out for dinner, and out the back door, walking over, and we saw this guy looking right at us. We walked down the beach and kept on going. Inside, moose tips, all the old signage. Excellent dinner. That was the first aid station. That's the education hall, recreation center. Had a real nice presentation about the history of the Isle Royale National Park. Isle Royale National Park is the least visited park, but it is of the entire system in the states, but it is the most revisited national park in the country. Looking at sunset. Took ourselves a hike. That's lichen and wild blueberries. More of the moss, mushrooms, more fungus. Outdoor barbecue area if you like. Took a cruise up to the lighthouse. That's the Rock Harbor Lighthouse. This is the original fishing village there. From the top of the island, the light. Back at the park headquarters for lunch. Hiking etiquette. Know your limitations. Nighttime. All right. So then we headed to Canada. Welcome to Ontario. Heading to Thunder Bay. Kakabeka Falls. This is a fascinating site up at Thunder Bay. This river flows into Lake Superior. At the Visitor Center, another very nice museum there. Fort William Historical Park. The Visitor Center you start at. Again, the all part of Fort William. This was day 21. Downtown Thunder Bay. This was the old police station, now the Historical Museum. You stayed overnight at the Best Western. Ore dock there. The light station. A lot of you might remember this this Canadian citizen ran the entire length of the Trans-Canada Highway from Vancouver to Quebec City to support cancer. I forgot the gentleman's name, but this was in the 80s or 90s. Terry Fox, the 80s. Yeah, Terry Fox. This is a memorial to him on the Trans-Canada Highway. Stopped at Nipigon. A lot to see here. A lot of historic structures. Really nice historical museum here as well. We're headed to over to through Rossport and Schreiber. Went to the Rail Museum, Canadian Pacific Railroad, Terrace Bay now. That's the Aguasaban River Falls there at Terrace Bay. We were overnight at that's the light station. And that was the view again in the fog. Overnight at the Norwood Motel, very nice. Drifters for dinner, really excellent restaurant. Headed down now to Marathon, through Marathon and Hemlo to White River. Again, these are all native First Nation locations. The train station, the Canadian Pacific Railroad comes through there. Signs in French and English. Then we're at Wawa. Was just before we're almost finished here. Flying the big Canadian goose. Big Goose Monument. Young's General Store. Boy, this place is a hoot. If you ever up that way, be sure to stop. Welcome to our place. In the woods, take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, kill nothing but time. There's the greeter. That was our cabin there at the Wawa RV Resort and Campground. Had a takeout Chinese restaurant dinner. Lay's chop suey. Scenic High Falls at Wawa. Silver Falls. The Bethune Cemetery. This is all First Nation burial. 24 frontier men and women rest here, included is Louisiana Mackenzie, wife of the local Hudson's Bay Company founder. cousin of the explorer Alexander Mackenzie, and great-grandmother of Dr. Norman Bethune. There's the Canadian Goose Monument again. Old Woman Bay. The Heritage Museum. Coming back, that is, so we're back to that is the Gross, that was the Gross Gap Lighthouse there. That's in the channel at Whitefish Point, as you're looking at Whitefish Point from Ontario. That is, those are folks lined up to go out of, waiting for the ferry to go across the St. Mary's River from Sioux, Ontario to the Sioux, USA. There's the International Bridge. There's the ferry. Ships going up and down through to the lock in Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma. And we're headed back over the International Bridge from Sioux, Ontario, and to Sioux, Michigan, and then stayed overnight. Then back over the Mackinac Bridge to the to home in Ann Arbor. Okay, this is the itinerary I put together. You can see I laid all this out. It took 27 days here. I laid everything out, everything that where we were gonna stop, what we were gonna do. You can see how detailed it is and when these places were open, so we knew how to set up our overnights and where we were gonna overnight at. So that is the Circle Tour of Lake Michigan. Questions? Can you unmute everybody? Roger, Joe?
I have questions.
They have to unmute themselves. You can do stop sharing. And that'll just bring us all back, and then you can hit escape.
Let's see.
Hit escape a minute. That brings back your control things.
Hey, this is Herb. That must just take hours and hours, maybe scores of hours of research for you to put this all together and find out when things are open and closed and length of hiking trails. And I mean, that's just remarkable research, for crying out loud. That I don't see how I could ever do all that research.
How do you go about doing that? That was my question too. I mean, that's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, so we pick up brochures at all official travel stations, the welcome centers, and I go online. I lay out the map, and if I don't have the brochure on those places from the state, the travel bureau, then I'll go online to the county store, the county visitors bureau, and get more information. And just took me about I don't know, 10 days to lay all that out, lay that trip out. Did the same for all 5 of the Great Lakes that we've done.
So you get brochures by writing away for them?
Pardon?
Do you get the brochures by writing away to the local?
Yes, yeah. So I'll go to the I'd go to the Duluth, Minnesota Welcome Visitor and Welcome Center, Visitors Bureau, and have send me a vacation package. Yeah, of all the stuff that's going on there in Duluth, and a Wisconsin map, and all. And yeah, it all comes in. I sort through it and just just organize it.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Very
40 years in the U.S. Army, working for a 1-star and 2-star general, um, helps you be organized.
If you had to pick, like you did 27 days, but if you had to pick 4 or 5 of the real highlights of the whole trip, what would you say they are?
Um,
Some of them anyway.
well, Thunder Bay, Ontario, um, Superior and Duluth, Wisconsin, Minnesota, um, Calumet, in the UP, in the Keweenaw, and probably the Marquette.
Did you visit any of the provincial parks in Ontario?
No,
Okay.
no.
Because they have this Lake Superior Provincial Park that's supposed to be
Yes.
fabulous.
Yeah, there are a dozen of them across the top of Lake Superior. But yeah, and only one is actually on the lake. The rest are all back to the north side of the north, about 5 or 6 miles into the forest land, where all the fishing is.
You know, you mentioned Sill's Cafe in Ontonagon.
Yes.
When we had our 5 kids back in the probably in the 90s, we camped at Porcupine Mountain State Park,
Uh-huh.
and then we would go out periodically to Sill's Cafe,
Uh-huh.
and they got pasties,
Yes.
and then they had those. Do you remember those great big milkshake cans? You know, the
Yes.
steel ones,
Yes.
24 ounces.
Yep.
You could get a whole milkshake can for $1.25. So we did that.
Yeah.
A meal in itself.
Yes.
Yes.
There was a lot there. That was 540 slides, and I've got 3 times that many in the scrapbooks.
Any
Also,
challenges?
yeah, go ahead.
Any challenges, or what was the experience like crossing both borders or both ways?
None at all. Short of got up there the Grand Portage, headed into Ontario in the Minnesota side, and showed them the passport, and they asked, where we coming from, and told them where we had just been down at Duluth, and where you headed, and said, well, we're on our 27-day circle tour of Lake Superior. We started over at Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and we're now here for Thunder Bay, and we'll end up back at Sault, Ontario in about 8 days. And they said, okay, fine. Stamp your passport and off you go.
That's when Canada and the US were still friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I just got back from Europe, and there was no animosity at all over there.
Hmm.
They know it's not the it's the governments, it's not the people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's only going to last 4 years.
Probably.
But the Superior, it's a toss-up between Lake Superior and Lake Huron as to which we enjoyed the most. They're neck and neck with all the places to stop, all the things to do, especially on the Canada side on Lake Huron.
Now, why would you elevate those above your Lake Michigan experience?
Well, the Lake Michigan, the Wisconsin side of Lake Michigan was the Michigan side of Lake Michigan is, well, I'm just too commercial.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's, I mean, everybody's on the Lake Michigan side during the summer. Everybody from the east part of the state, southeast, they're headed over there to the Grand Haven, South Haven, Holland, and the whole lake, Petoskey, Charlevoix, um, um, and up at the dunes, and there's just it's extremely big, a lot more people um, in towns, and a lot more traffic. Not so on the Wisconsin side of Lake Michigan, um, and not so on the Michigan side of Lake Huron and Superior.
Did you go, when you did your Michigan one, I forget, did you go along the northern part of Lake Michigan in the UP?
Yes, yeah. We started here in Ann Arbor, went down to Saline, got on US 12 and did the historic US 12 route all the way out to New Buffalo, and then where we hit the lake, and then went around up through Chicago, and up through Racine and Milwaukee, up the Green Bay, out the door, on the Door Peninsula, to several lighthouses there, and then around Green Bay itself, crossed back over into Michigan, at Menominee, and then
Menominee, yeah, okay.
came across the top of the lake there. Yeah, Menominee, Escanaba.
I'm a Uper,
Aha.
but you didn't go to my town because I'm from Iron River, which is west of,
Yeah, right. Yeah, we been to we were in Iron River 2 years ago. We took the ferry across Lake Michigan from Muskegon, the high speed, because the other one down at Holland was under repair, and the got out of Milwaukee and took the route over and went up through Wisconsin to a couple places, and then crossed over the state and went to Iron River, and three other of the places up there that we hadn't gotten to on our circle tour.
yeah, well, they're right on the Wisconsin border, although Iron
Yeah,
Mountain, Iron River. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm from Iron River, but,
a lot to see and do in Iron River also.
oh, yes, I know. I grew up there.
I have a question. You didn't mention Isle Royale as one of your high points. How would you rate a visit there?
Excellent. Especially if you want to backpack the Ridge Trail. We enjoyed that a lot. Just the the ambiance of the overnight structures, the hotel, the cabins in that, the dining experience, the weather, the view, no traffic. I mean, there are no vehicles on the island anywhere, and in the park anywhere. And if you're a camper, or you'll have a boat, there's a lot of places you can rent there, campsites you can rent around the island, the main island, and for to fish, to go fishing from. But yeah, I didn't have it because of my wife's got a bum knee. We didn't do a lot of hiking, but we have gone there with our scout troop and hiked that Ridge Trail.
What time of year did you go, and how were the bugs?
No bugs at all anywhere. This is August. We were there from August 3rd until the 28th of the tour, and then we had no issue with bugs at all, Joe.
They probably got frozen out by that time.
Pardon? Oh,
They probably got frozen out by that time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dave, and maybe this is maybe for you or maybe for Joe. When you whoever puts the stuff up, when you record this so we can watch it from a distance. Do you put that itinerary up somewhere too, so we can benefit from all that work you did?
Um,
Or is there a way we can do that?
Yes, yes, he could send the itinerary Word document to Joan. We could add it in.
and I'll
It'll
do that
be-
tonight.
It'll be part of this.
Okay.
You saw as it flew by, you will see that on the recording. But
Oh,
to
well,
actually
yeah.
see the itinerary, he could add it to the website
Okay.
and stuff. We'll be able to get it someplace.
That'd be great, Roger. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay,
Thank
this
Thank you
was
very
great.
much.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you. I enjoyed this a lot.
Me too.
And
Thank
our
you.
our next meeting will be on the fourth Tuesday of June. I'm not sure the date, but I think it might be the 24th. Anyway, and I've forgotten what the topic is, so
It is the 24th. Joe.
Yep.
so I guess we're adjourned.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
you.
you all.
for attending.
Well,